Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tanvi from Channel Sales at Genetech. It's 2 p.m. EDT. I just want to give a couple more minutes for all the latecomers to join, and we can begin our presentation shortly. Throughout the presentation, you guys will be on mute, but you do have option to ask us questions in the questions panel on the GoToWebinar settings right there. So please feel free to ask us questions throughout the presentation. Plus, there will be some time at the end of the presentation as well for us to answer any of the questions that have been unanswered during the presentation. So I hope you enjoy. Just a couple more minutes. If you guys want to get water, tea, another cup of coffee, feel free to go and grab some. We're going to begin soon. Excellent. So now I see quite a few people have come in. So we shall begin the presentation now. So just in case for the ones who missed it, you all will be on mute throughout the presentation, but you do have the option of asking us questions in the questions panel. So if you can hear me loud and clear, you can probably let me know in the questions as well that you can hear me, or if there's any problem with there's a lag in the video, there's a lag in the presentation, please let me know and I'll try my best to try and fix it. All right then. So my name is Tanvi Kadukar and I'm with Channel Sales at Genetech. Some of you may have written an email to me. We would have spoken on the phone. I cover quite a few regions. The goal of our session today is to give you a brief introduction to Stratocast, the cloud, and software as a service. Essentially, you'll become comfortable, or let's say cozy, with the topic of cloud-based VMS. You'll therefore walk away with a deeper knowledge of the developing trends that make this such a hot topic today. You'll also better understand the users that are at the core of the industry and what their challenges and needs are, and how Genetec Stratocast fits into the wider picture and how you fit into this picture as well. Without further ado, let's just dive right into some of the trends that encompasses the industry today. Okay, so trend one. Our first trend is arguably the one that is significantly felt across industries, and that is the lack of IT resources. So what does this mean? Due to the lack of IT resources, businesses are trying to focus their IT teams on activities that are, in line with the company's core mission. Example, if you're an e-commerce platform vendor, you want your IT team to focus their time on supporting your platform. Basic IT services like emails, CRM, etc. are all moving to the cloud and being handled by the third-party vendors. This liberates the IT team to then focus on core activities related to business. We're seeking new players from IT to join the buying group, like infrastructure, IT manager, etc. Right? So this seeks compliance with existing infrastructure. Cybersecurity is the top of the mind. Limits the risk of exposing businesses through edge devices. Resulting from trend one, lack of resources, focusing on core activities. When it comes to new purchases, looking for solutions that will not require a substantial effort involvement from the team. Already stretched thin. We don't want new software solution requiring additional continuous updates, maintenance, etc. So what does this mean again? Progressively looking at the cloud-based solutions, which have vendors taking care of updates, maintenance, to then liberate the IT resources. As you did in trend one, keep this in mind as we move on to the third and final trend that we'll discuss today. What is a cloud-first policy? Simply put, when business look to deploy new services or update existing services, they will first consider solutions hosted in the cloud. It brings forth the creation of central cloud teams responsible for implementing migration strategies for different workload to the cloud. So now what? As more and more workloads migrate to the cloud, those that remain receive increased pressure to migrate. What's important to note here is that the growing number of central cloud teams that we're seeing across industries. This signals that there's a clear demand for cloud-based solutions. Now that we've gotten a better idea of some of the key trends, like lack of IT resources, the increased involvement of IT in buying decisions, and emergence of cloud-first policies come together to frame the discussion of cloud-based solutions. Let's now take a closer look at vSaaS, or video surveillance as a service. Before tackling vSaaS specifically, let's take a step back and first take a few minutes to discuss what's software as a service. We often hear about SaaS, but what is it exactly? On the slide here, you will see the two extremes of on-premise and full software as a service, along with the intermediate infrastructure and platform as a service. As we move from left to right, we see progressively more of the elements shifting from customers' responsibility to that to the vendors. For example, operating system maintenance and updates are customers' responsibility for an on-premise solution, as it is with infrastructure as a service. But once we move to the platform as a service, this is now managed as an offering. The application is still managed by the customer in platform as a service, but the platform as a service is managed by the vendor in software as a service. So let's look at a better example, because I know this can be all technical jargons, right? Let's look at a simple example of something like this. And that's pizza. Well, it's already making me hungry. I did have my lunch, but I can't help it. Pizza is my favorite. Let's look at that example. We'll use this off-sided pizza as a service model to better illustrate this. Now imagine you wanted to eat a pizza for dinner, but are deciding between making it yourself and going out to a restaurant. If you were to make it yourself, you would not only have to supply all the ingredients, but also the appliances necessary to prepare and bake it. So when you go out to eat, all of it is taken care for you, including the tables and chairs. All you need to decide is which pizza you want. Now, one item that you don't see on this slide is quite possibly the most important thing of all, and that being a recipe. Even if you have all the pieces, it doesn't mean you know how to assemble them in the correct and optimal way. People often like to go out to eat to try foods they may not have the proficiency to make themselves at home, right? So now if you tie this back to the software as a service example, not every business may have the required expertise to deploy a video management system without needing outside help, nor do they necessarily want to develop it. Instead, the specific management of the system can be shifted, thereby removing the burden of responsibility from the customer and placing it on the vendor. So let's look at 3 types of vSaaS models. Now that we have a better understanding of what the software as a service is, let's spend a bit of time outlining the 3 major types of vSaaS that exist. The first one being true cloud. This approach is defined by having no hardware on the side and storing all the video in the cloud directly, or in some instances, storing video on the edge initially. The main advantage to this method is minimal hardware footprint. The cost of solution will shift from a large one-time capital expenditure to a recurring charge, more in line with an operational expenditure. Now, the disadvantages of this model is the center around the need for a fast and reliable connection to the internet. Since nothing is being stored on or managed on the site, the internet connection becomes the focal point of solutions performance. As you may have guessed, Stratocast, which is the Genetec offering, fits right into this category. The second solution is a hybrid one. In this solution, video data is primarily stored on site with the ability to offload key clips to the cloud for longer term storage. Now, the main advantage of this method is lower hardware footprint compared to the traditional on-site or on-prem solution, but with reduced infrastructure requirements for internet connectivity and the bandwidth compared to the true cloud. Now, this model is particularly attractive for sites that are located in areas that have slow or unreliable internet connections. The disadvantage, it centers around the vulnerability of the video. By storing nearly everything on edge, the data becomes susceptible to tampering, and any segments that were not offloaded to the cloud remain vulnerable and there's a risk of it being lost, somewhat negating the benefits of choosing a cloud-enabled solution. And our last one, which most of you are familiar by now if you're Genetec integrators, that's the on-prem solution. This method is quite different from the previous 2 in that it requires a full-powered on-site appliance, which is used to both manage and store the video data, but with the software itself as sold on a subscription basis. The main advantage of this option is the removal of the need for an internet connection as being mandatory. It is ideal for customers that is less concerned about having additional hardware to manage and does not require any off-site backups. By purchasing the software on subscription, technical support from vendors is included in the cost, as well as the full feature updates and new features. Now, the disadvantages. It centers around increased upfront cost as well as ongoing maintenance and eventual replacement of the hardware. More of the responsibility is placed on the individual customer to maintain and support the solution. So I hope this gives you a better idea of the types of offerings that you may encounter, not just with Genetec, but even with other service providers. With that being said, let's look at the users in the VSaaS market. Let's take a closer look at the users that are in the domain of VSaaS market by analyzing their profiles and the pain points as well. I'm looking at the questions. If you have any questions, please go ahead and you can ask me anything. Also, let me know if you want me to pause at a certain point and repeat that again. So who are some typical users at the core of VSaaS industry? Well, one of the examples, the store and business owners, retail locations with low camera accounts at which deploying a server might not be cost efficient. For many, lack of retail space is also a factor, especially in context of a franchise with many locations. As an example, you can think of any coffee shops, right? With the ones that have very little space in the coffee shop and may not need more than 3 or 4 cameras at once. Police departments and municipalities. So city and government that want to enhance public safety via a private-public collaboration. Now, VSaaS for them provides a simple and a cost-effective way to deploy large systems that can greatly benefit their crime-fighting efforts. Remote and temporary installations due to the low hardware footprint. VSaaS is a great fit for short-term deployments such as construction site, pop-up shops, or festival events. Now, cameras can be deployed and connected to LTE modems and streamed directly to the cloud, even when a hardwired internet connection is not available. Other examples? Well, a multi-site and widely distributed enterprises. Now, we've seen a lot of interest from enterprise customers with many disparate sites scattered across the globe. Now, VSaaS solutions allows them to easily and quickly deploy a remote site with minimal hardware kept on-premise. So now that we've gotten a little high-level idea of some of the potential uses of VSaaS, let's dive in a little more and explore some of the challenges faced by users. I have one question from one of the users, and the question is, will you be touching on cloud access or will this be strictly video focused? So this will be, since this is Stratocast, this is a video on cloud, so this will be strictly video focused. Apologies for that. So let's look at the pain points. So although our users can come from various industries, including banking, retail, public safety, building and infrastructure, we're really seeing common challenges and pain points across industries. Central monitoring. So faced with daunting tasks to monitor their growing sites from a central location, the pressure of growth and the need to rapidly bring new locations online means that the local staff is stretched thin and unavailable. Limited IT resources. Now, customers take a serious look at where IT resources are being spent, right? Now, this includes the time and cost spent with updating and maintaining hardware like servers, network bridges, etc. A significant cost is, of course, IT staffing and capacity planning. Capacity planning is normally expensive because extra infrastructure resources need to be allocated for future needs, which often goes unused. Disjointed security systems. Now, hardware's limited life cycle has led to disparate systems across sites, which follow different refresh cycles. Now, these disjointed systems now have trouble communicating with one another. Now, keeping these challenges in mind, let's look at how Stratocast, Genetec's offering, fits into the story. Let's dive right in. So, what is Stratocast? In short, it's a true cloud video management platform that helps you monitor your sites from anywhere, regardless of where they happen to be, whether big or small. Stratocast allows you to centralize the monitoring of your disparate sites, whether they are scattered across the globe or in the same campus. Since all the video recordings are uploaded directly to the cloud, businesses can reduce their costs by limiting not only the amount of on-site hardware that's required, but by freeing up the floor space and IT resources previously dedicated to these systems. Why would you want to use Stratocast? Now let's look at the four main reasons. The first one, you can rest easy knowing that Stratocast communications are encrypted both in transit and in the data center, keeping unwanted data access possibilities to a minimum. Eliminating boxes from your locations can help reduce your IT cost, whether that means less money tied up in the hardware or less time spent on maintenance. Since Stratocast, like any other service offering, is sold on a subscription, you only have to pay for what you use, allowing you to scale your system along with your business operations. Now, gone are the days of having to buy servers with unused capacity for future expansion, or having to buy more hardware to accommodate an unplanned expansion to a facility. Stratocast allows you to easily scale up or down quickly as your needs change over time. Now you can easily access your camera feeds from multiple locations, all from within Stratocast web portal or mobile application, making it very easy to monitor everything centrally. Or if you have a security operations center, you can federate your cameras into Genetec Security Center for more advanced functionality and workflows. People can be hesitant of the cloud. It's understandable. It can be difficult to put your business's sensitive data in hands of someone else and store it where you can't see it, right? So what measures are put in place to ensure that your data is kept as private and secure as possible? First, claims-based authentication is used to streamline logins and ensure secure access. Now you can access the base offering if you so wish by leveraging multi-factor authentication and Azure AD on your accounts. Not only are the logins and user sessions secured, but the camera streams are too. All the data is encrypted before it ever leaves the local network and is then kept encrypted while being stored in the cloud. All these measures wouldn't count for much if the data wasn't also being stored redundantly for maximum resiliency. Now, all the data in Microsoft Azure is stored in triplicate within the data center and applies to Stratocast too. You can take peace of mind knowing your data is being protected against corruption or hardware failure. Trusting a third party to protect your information can be a tough decision without some assurances, right? But Stratocast is backed by a 99.9% uptime guarantee, and we have a team that is monitoring the platform at all the time. So even if a problem occurs on a Sunday at 2 a.m., someone is going to be on your case. To finish off, all these measures wouldn't count for much if there were holes in the armor, leaving your data vulnerable. We subject our platform to an annual security review in which third-party security experts perform penetration tests and vulnerability assessment to ensure that we're adhering to highest possible standards. Let's look at some key features. First, we believe in open architecture. Some cloud VMS providers lock you into closed or proprietary systems, but not Stratocast. Now, we're committed to maintaining an open platform and support a variety of cameras from industry leaders such as Axis, Vivotech, Bosch, Mobotics, Hanwha, giving you the flexibility to choose a manufacturer whose devices meet your requirements. If an alarm is set off at your business in the middle of the night, you will want to investigate it as quickly as possible. Stratocast gives you easy access to your video, both live and recorded 24 hours a day from anywhere you are and on any internet-connected device. There is no need for complex network rules or VPNs just to access your video. What happens if someone pulls up your loading bay in the middle of the night? You might want to be made aware of that. So you can configure your notifications only to alert you the events captured after hours. That way you won't receive any false positives during normal business operations. One of the most common questions we've gotten while working with Stratocast is what happens if my internet connection goes down? Luckily, it's possible to save a local copy of your video so that you can still have a record of what happened when your cameras were not connected to the cloud. Let's look at the next feature, which is federating the security center. Most of you who worked with Genetec in the past, you have deployed a lot of security center systems, and many of you would have seen the federation concept wherein all the smaller systems federate back to the main system. So Stratocast is also capable of doing that, and I'm just going to explain how. Stratocast can be federated into Genetec's security center, and this can unlock the potential for both the solutions, that is minimal hardware footprint combined with an enterprise-grade features and reliability. Many customers opt for federation as a service, which is a cloud-hosted version that eliminates the need to even have a local server to run security center. Now, it is possible to host a fully featured system entirely in cloud. Now, that system we call as SaaS, so which is access control on video, which has a federation license to federate a Stratocast system back to it. At this point, we will be asking what federation is, and it is a Genetec technology that allows you to monitor your devices at standalone locations from a centralized point, all while allowing those individual locations to operate autonomously from the head end. Think of it as, imagine a retail chain that wants to have a VMS deployed at each of their locations, but are still able to check any of them from the head office, all while allowing each store's manager to access their own systems and devices. Now, using federation opens many possibilities for how a system can be designed. It is very simple to mix and match on-premise and cloud systems. Now, you could opt to deploy Stratocast at all your satellite offices and use a hosted version of Synergis Access Control, which is SaaS Access Control, while using a premise-based Omnicast video system at your head office, where the camera count may be higher and not feasible to be put in the cloud. Now, all this sounds a little complicated. We understand. So if you had any questions, if you wanted to discuss your project in detail after this call, after this presentation, please feel free to write to channelsales@genetec.com. I will be showing this email address at the end of the presentation as well, in case you want to shoot a quick email to us. Let's dive right in the system architecture. In order to better illustrate the concept of federation, look at this architectural diagram. I like presenting this particular slide because it shows both the simplicity and possibilities of the cloud. Now, it doesn't require a great deal of complexity to have a high-functioning security system. Now, whether that means just video or addition of complementary sensors such as wireless locks or even ALPR, which is license plate recognition systems. Now, once these devices have reached the cloud, they then become accessible from anywhere you wish to view them from, whether that means Stratocast web portal, a mobile app on your smartphone, or a desktop client via federation into Security Center. We're going to jump into an actual demo of Stratocast soon, but if you had to take any key points from this presentation, here are they. Growing demand for cloud-based solutions as illustrated by trends, better understanding of the typical users in the market and what their challenges and needs are. And you also, I'm sure you got a better sense of security in the cloud, like learned about the 3 types of vSaaS categories, that is true cloud, hybrid, and on-prem, and out of which Stratocast is a true cloud solution that records directly to the cloud with no need for an on-premise server or network bridges. Lastly, and you saw how Stratocast fits within a wider Genetec ecosystem with use of federation. in just a minute, we'll be seeing how Stratocast is demonstrated and how you enroll different camera connections or how you go on about adding clients. But if you had any detailed questions that you may not be able to ask on this platform right here, please feel free to email channelsales@genetec.com. Furthermore, you could also read a little bit more on resources.genetec.com/Stratocast cloud-based video monitoring. I'll be unsharing my video just a little bit, the screen just a little bit, because I'm going to go and set up Stratocast account. Give me just a minute. It won't take time at all. Just give me a minute and we will be going right here. All right. So everyone on your screen, do you see this website called as app.stratocast.com? Excellent. All right. So to be able to log into Stratocast, once you get onboarded as a Stratocast integrator, you were allowed to sell Stratocast to other end users, you will all receive a welcome email, which will enable you to log into Stratocast portal, which is app.stratocast.com. Now, one of the essential things that you need to know before you log into Stratocast is that you have to log in with your Google, Microsoft, or Yahoo email addresses. So the one that I have enrolled with is Google, but if you had Microsoft, if you had Yahoo, or if your office addresses were in line with Google, you could also use them. So what we do is we go to app.stratocast.com, and like I said, I'm going to log in with my personal Gmail address. It's logging in. I apologize if it's a bit slow on my end. I live with a few people here and we all are sharing internet, so that might be a little bit of trouble in the middle of the presentation, so I apologize in advance. Let me quickly switch my view and I'm going to show you how you operate Stratocast as an integrator when you do choose to get Stratocast. All right. So on your first page, as soon as you log in as an integrator, you see this sort of a summary, right? You see, let's say you had a lot of clients under you and some of the cameras had some errors, some of the cameras had warnings. You would see them all on the first page. Right now, since I'm using a dummy account and I do not actually have clients under me, you can see that I have 0 errors and 0 warnings. And it's amazing if you also have 0 errors and 0 warnings when you have actual accounts, which means that it's running smoothly. But this is what you see on the first page. Then you also have some tips. You have announcements. For example, the latest announcement that we had recently was on 4th of October, and that announcement was that we added, we support image rotation now for 90 degrees and 270 degrees, right? But the main focus of this page would be the settings on the left. So you see the first is home, which you are at right now. Then you have clients, health, and users. So as an integrator for Stratocast, only one of you could be an administrator. But once you are an admin, you can add as many users, as many colleagues as you want onto this account to help you manage this account. Because I imagine that in certain scenarios, you might have 100 clients, 100 end users, and you might want different people in your organization to look after a certain account. So you might want to add many users, right? So this is where you go and add users, and I'm going to show you how. So I click on the settings tab, which is users, and I would say add an integrator. So I'm an admin already, and I've added a few of my colleagues. I'm going to show you how I add more. So I click on this capsule-like symbol, which says plus, add an integrator. And I give their first name and last name. So I have a colleague, his name is David. Some of you might have worked with him. So I'm going to just add David to this account. Phone number, we just give whatever we want. Let's assume David has a Yahoo email address. And Remember, David's username would not be his official email address. It would be one of the same. So it would be Yahoo. So I'm going to give David's Yahoo email address, just guessing right now, and type this. You have a small checkbox here. Now, what does this checkbox do? It says email address, and there's a check, and it says same as username. You could either keep it as is, which is dhughes@yahoo.com. But in our case, let's say if you want David to be able to receive notifications on his official email address, you would give this email address of his, which is genetech.com. Because David's my colleague, his email address is genetech. So, and then I click on this checkbox and say create. So you will see David is just now added as one of the new users. So this is how you go on adding your colleagues. Now, how about adding a client? So home, second option is client. So I click on this folders. And I'm going to try and show you how to create a client account. Now here in Montreal, I went to Concordia University, and oh boy, how much do I miss going to the gym? I remember those days where we could just go and hang out with people. That doesn't happen anymore. So I'm going to take an example of my beloved gym, which is Concordia Gym, right? So let's say Concordia Gym is one of your clients and they want Stratocast for their facility. How do you go about adding them? You click on this capsule again. So see the similarities? Every time you want to add something, it's a small capsule on top with a plus symbol. So I click on create a client account and I give account name. Like I said, the one I miss, Concordia Gym. I'm sure I'm not the only one who misses their gym. Country, Canada. Oops. Well, we don't care if it's Cayman Island. Okay, 1 second, Canada. Client reference number. Now, you have quite a few reasons of choosing an appropriate client reference number. It could be something like, let's say, Gym 01, considering you have, let's say, a lot of gyms who have signed up to be your clients and you want to differentiate account like that. Or it could simply be some sort of an ERP number that is associated with your client, so that when you go through your accounts at the end of the year, you know which what account reference number this client has. So it could be something very internal to you, but for me, for right now, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to choose Gym 01. Subscription term, so you have two options. You have annual as well as monthly. The main difference between annual and monthly is like, obviously you'll be bothered a lot less, wherein annual you receive an invoice from us only once a year, as opposed to monthly is every month. And if you choose annual, you have the 12th month for free. So the cost of annual is 11 times the cost of 1 month. So I'm going to choose annual and I'm going to go to the next page. Address. So right now we'll just give a dummy address. We just want to create this quickly and move on. Montreal, because we are located in Montreal, province Quebec. And we just give a zip postal code. Okay, you click on next. So while you make this client account, you also have to make sure that you select, you know who the admin is going to be from the client. So in this case, which one of you is going to be assigning a admin from the client side. So I'm just going to use my example. So let's say my name is Tanvi. So let's say I am a client who works for Concordia Gym, and if you wanted to add me to the account, right? So remember that even for me, you have to make sure that the client has either Google, Microsoft, or Yahoo. So I'm going to select Google right now, and I'm going to use my Gmail address here. And very similarly, like we did for adding your colleague, here you uncheck this box, and instead of my Gmail, you want to give my official email address. In this case, it would be concordiagym.com, right? And I click on this checkbox and you will see that folder created. So in this list of client folders, do you see Concordia Gym on top? So it's Concordia. I've given some dummy client folders here. There's Cafe Coffee Day and City of Montreal. Okay, so let's click on Concordia Gym that we just now created. So look at what it says here. This page, it's active. The name is Concordia Gym. Then you have the address, you have the subscription term, etc. So I'm just going to scroll down to give you a better idea of this. So look at that. The second section here is for subscription information, which is managing the cameras, and the third one is users. So if you remember, I gave my name, that is PK, as the admin name for the client. But let's say tomorrow I were to quit Concordia Gym, you could replace the administration. So you could replace PK and add somebody else as the admin. But let's look at enrolling the cameras now. So let me click on manage cameras. So right now, remember, we don't have even a single camera added on to it. I'm just going to show you how. So bear in mind that right now, since I am, like everyone, I'm working from home, I do not have an actual camera, so I would not be able to enroll one of them successfully right now, but I'm going to guide you through the steps of doing so. Okay, but don't worry, we have another account ready which has actual cameras at Genetech facility, and I'll be showing that to you in just about 2 minutes. So you click on this plus symbol with a cap tool once again that says enroll a device. Okay, so let's go on enrolling a device. You want to give a name. This name can be anything you really want to give. So since we are at Concordia Gym, you want to give, let's say, the reception, weighing machine, like ellipticals, you want to say washrooms, etc. You can be as descriptive as you want about the camera's location. So I'm just going to say, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to say receptionist floor 2. Okay, and manufacturer for me right now, it's only Axis is enabled in my account, but do not worry. Like I explained before, we have Axis, Bosch, Vivotech. You have other examples, so this is just for now. So we're enrolling an Axis device. I click next. Now, every camera, like the hardware of the camera, is going to come with its own serial number and OAK number, which is owner authentication key. This field right now, I'm going to give some dummy numbers so that we can just go ahead, but you will have an actual number when your end user buys those cameras, right? So right now, just for now, we're going to choose a serial number, and we'll choose an owner authentication key. Okay, perfect. So both these numbers, if you noticed, are 12-digit numbers, and you click on next. Oh, wow. It says this already registered even though it was a dummy one. So I'm just going to like give some numbers. Okay, perfect. So look at this now. It's saying that it's waiting for me to enroll, is waiting for the cameras to enroll. It's not going to be successful for me, but trust me, it'll be for you, because at the end of the day, you're going to have actual cameras, right? So it gave me an error here, but if I go back to the client folder, you will still see the camera in there. So let me show you how. So our client names was Concordia Gym, the one I just created. You click inside of that. And if you click on to this second section again, which is manage cameras, you will see one of them is enrolled. So it says receptionist floor 2. Now imagine you can enroll a lot of cameras here. Like, the idea is you can have as many cameras on any floor you wanted to, but you have to enroll one by one here. Okay. Now let's move on to how your clients will see this view. So this is as an integrator, right? You do the job of enrolling, but now let's see how a client or the end user is able to see these videos. So I'm going to go up and switch my view, which you won't have the option to because mine is a Genetech account, but just to give you an idea of how this works. I'm sorry, 1 second. I didn't choose the right one. Client user. Perfect. Now, if you notice something different, as soon as I switch to the client or the end user view, on my left here, the settings have changed. So you have the settings of home, clients, help, and users because you are allowed to add users. But as a client or the end users, you have home, which is what you see in front of you right now, with the same kind of announcements to the right. But you have now view, investigate, and a vote. And I'll explain each of these sections in details. So as soon as you log in to this client account, on the first page, you will see this motion activity summary. Now, this account that I have and the cameras that we've enrolled in here, they're actually at Genetec's Montreal facility. So you will see 4 cameras that are in the Genetec right now. And unfortunately, the activity is going to be low as opposed to any normal day because all of us are home. But you might still see a few people here and there, and that's why you have motion spike. So you can see that the motion spike is still at 12 p.m., which is around the lunch break time. And so we do have a couple of cameras here in the kitchen. So, most of the people would have come to the kitchen to access their food around noon and 1 p.m. EDT. So let's look at these cameras. So I'm checking the next section, which is view. This is very similar to security center. Like I know some of you who have dealt with security center in the past, and there's a drag and drop option where you drag a camera from the bottom here and you pull it to the tile. And if you notice on top here, the maximum number of cameras you can have at one point in time is 6. But since right now we only have 4 cameras enrolled, you see 4. But if you had 6, we could also change the view to 6. But with Security Center, you can have a lot more tiles. And like we said, like if you use the Federation as a service option, then you can view these Stratocast cameras from that Security Center Federation itself. I'm going to check out one of them right now, just to show you how we go ahead and investigate on something like that. So this is an investigate option, and I'm going to show you when that is triggered and when to use that. So the thing you see in purple here, the color purple you see on the screen is the time in the future, which is yet to happen. By default, so on Stratocast, we'll have motion on detection. So you have those bookmarks that are created on motion on detection. But right now, because there's not much motion, you won't see the bookmarks. So let's go ahead and create those bookmarks manually, right? So see here option, it says add bookmark. So let's say if I were to go back in time, so right now it's at 2:46 EDT. If I wanted to go back, let's say here, and if I wanted to add a bookmark. So right now it's loading for me. So I'm going back here and I want to add a bookmark. And if I say something like employee not recognized, okay, you can have various instances for something like this. For creating a bookmark, for me, I'm just creating something like employee not recognized, and I click on add a bookmark. Okay. Now let's see how you can use this, how you can put this bookmark to some use. Okay. You can see you have many cameras here. Now we also investigate exactly which one you want to see at this point in time. So remember, this one is band 3 second floor. This is where I added the bookmark. So I'm going to click on investigate. It's loading for me, so I apologize. And a lot of emails are coming in the background. Sorry about that. Okay, perfect. So you can see the filters on top here. So the filters are last half an hour, or today, or yesterday, or any custom date and time range. So you can choose all these options, right? But for us, so that we can like get to it quickly, we can choose last half an hour. And then this filters on the camera. So right now it was on AE Stratocast Cafe, but remember the bookmark that we added was on band 3 second floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all cameras just so that we can see everything that is happening here. So the filters last half an hour, and now I'm choosing all the cameras. And if you remember, I did mention that in Stratocast, if we have the motion detection enabled, you will see those bookmarks as well. So all these bookmarks have been for motion detection at various places. So look at that. This is A Stratocast Cafe. There was motion detected. A Stratocast Cafe. I see this two little cute kids trying to come to the cafeteria. Maybe they will come there with a parent. Who knows? But the one that we created right now was employee not recognized on band 3, second floor. Yeah. So let's click on that. This has the footage here. You have the playback preview. You also see a small symbol on top here, which is like a briefcase with an upward arrow, right? So it's just on the camera right here, on the footage right here. And if I want to click on that, it gives me an option to export that video into the vault, which is the 4th section. Now I'll show you how we do this. So you have this video when you created a bookmark called as employee not recognized. You could do it on any other bookmarks, but I'm choosing this one and I click on export. So at any given point in time, the length of the video that you choose can be a total of 60 minutes. So it can be 20 minutes before, 40 minutes after, it can be 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after, but the limitation is on the length, which is 60 minutes total. But right now, because we want this to be saved quickly, I'm only going to choose a 1 minute before and 0 minute after. So my total length is going to be 1 minute. And you can give any description you want. You can say something like this floor usually is a restricted access floor. And therefore you were alarmed that this employee was not recognized, right? And you save. Think of it as from our client's perspective. When I said I was giving an example of Concordia Gym. So at gym, if the gym is open 24/7, the receptionist is not going to be the same who's going to work for 24 hours straight, right? You probably will have 3 shifts of 8 hours each. So there'll be one receptionist in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one, say, at night. So if the one in the morning saw something suspicious and wanted the next employee or her next colleague to take a watch on that, just investigate a little bit. And she can leave this bookmark and a note for her and be like, hey, when you come in, please check out this video I have stored in the vault. I was not able to recognize this employee in the equipment section. So now let's see how this video is stored. Okay. So now we were here on investigate. We go onto the vault, and you will see this being saved. It's taking time to load. Hopefully it loads today. Perfect. So you see this one? It says converting 60%. This is the one that we tried to save just now. And this vault has no capacity on how long the videos can be in there for. So as an example, if you scroll all the way down, this one video that I tried saving in the vault was saved on 24th of September. So by default, Stratocast comes with 7 days of storage, and it is a 24/7 recording, but it comes with 7 days of default storage. But once you save in the vault, it can be saved for a long time. There is no capacity on the size. So you can see one is 4.86 MB, one is 1.14 MB. You can have something huge, right? If you choose like 60 minutes, it's going to be a huge video. That's not a problem. The only issue is you can only save it for the time of 60 minutes total. Does it make sense so far? So, like I said, this is how your client will view Stratocast. Let me go back to the integrator's view, which was the first view we showed to you, which was the integrator administrator. So Stratocast so far is a self-serve portal, but let's say while trying to enroll a camera or while trying to add a user, you faced some errors or you had some questions. What you can do is, you see on the right here, there's a question mark. You click on this question mark. And it opens a guide for you. Is this loading for me? I apologize for that. Right here. So it's called Stratocast Integrator Guide. So what it does is, so it even explains to you here what Stratocast is and trying to enroll a camera connection. So it's all here. integrators, client accounts, video units, etc. So since my account only has Access, I had Access units, but it also has Bosch here. And if you had VivoTech, I'm sure it'll have VivoTech as well. Okay, so how do you get here again? Once again, so on your client account, you go to your name. So this is my name right here, it's because I'm logged in. Right next to it, you have phone number. That's for support, by the way. And then you have the question mark, which opens a Stratocast portal, Stratocast integrator guide. You're also allowed to reach our tech support. You're allowed to open a case for Stratocast. And if you want, I can show you how to open a case for Stratocast as well. So let me log into genetech.com. If any one of you does not have access to Genetech portal, the one I'm about to log in, please let channel sales know, and we'll be happy to grant you access. So I click on Genetech portal and my username for me to log in. So this is portal.genetech.com, and you will see there's technical assistance, Tech Doc Hub, channel partner, etc. So let's look at case management. So look at that technical assistance, and I'm choosing case management. And I click on create a new case. And right here, it's going to ask you for clearance, clear ID, retail sense, system ID, etc. So if you had Stratocast, you would have the option of not having the system ID. So right now, the account that I'm using to log in, it does not have, it's not Stratocast certified. So if you were Stratocast certified, you would have an option of clicking Stratocast, and which is why you don't have to give the system ID. So that's one of the ways of opening a case for Stratocast, just in case you need a technical support and technical help. I've covered most of the things right now. If you had any questions, what I'm going to do right now is look at the questions panel. I apologize, I might have ignored a few of your questions till now, but I'm going to look at it just now and help you with it right away. In case you do not have any questions at all, I would be happy, to help you once again. You're allowed to ask questions on channel sales@genetech.com, and also read a little bit more about the resources on resources.genetech.com, Stratocast cloud-based video monitoring. If you have no questions, we have reached the end of the presentation and Stratocast demo. So the ones who want their questions answered can stay back. The rest of you are free to leave and have the rest of the afternoon to yourselves, and have a great evening ahead. There's also an option of raising hand in GoToWebinar. So in case you want to raise your hand and want to type the questions as well, please let us know, because we have reached the end of the presentation. It's almost 3 p.m. EDT. And if the questions are a lot detailed, and if you wanted us to give you a call instead, you can email channelsales@genetec.com and we'll be happy to assist you. I see Christopher Clark was posing quite a few questions. So Chris, if you wanted to reach out to us separately as well, we can do this after the call. I'm not seeing any new questions at the moment, so I would be closing this presentation. Chris, we can take it offline and we can discuss it a little more in detail. If anybody else on the call has the same thing, want to discuss in detail, please reach out to us at channelsales@genetec.com. We can also be reached at our phone number, which is 855-245-0326, 855-245-0326. Thank you for your time and attention. I'll speak to some of you soon.